And welcome back to Worlds 2018. Fnatic have evened out this series 1-1 in the quarterfinals, and now we get to see where momentum will lie. Fnatic have once again got side choice as we get into game number 3, no substitutions, and they have elected blue side. It seems like it worked for Fnatic in game 2.
Yet you sounded surprised right there.
Do you think they can do it again? Because now the pressure's on EDG to pivot.
Well, we might see Fnatic just go with more or less the same style. They don't have to take the Victor top lane. That one you can maybe argue, was it necessary or not? But we have to remember, EDG for the first 15 minutes of that game were doing really well. They were actually more than fine. So I don't think they have to pivot too much. Maybe they will look at Irelia after last game.
Potentially, I think that EDG have run 2 different strategies. One is empower Scout, allow 1v1, isolate the mid lane matchup. We've also seen a throwback to let's get into bottom lane, let's continue to dive. And I think that whilst both of them were relatively successful in the early game, you get less mistakes when you're playing 5v5 style League of Legends. If it is isolation 1v1, you know, if you fall down once, game probably not over. In a teamfight comp, you lose one teamfight, you get aced, you are done.
Well, let's see what they decide to do, Spawn, because as we said, now that EDG lost game number 2, the pressure is on Fnatic banned Rakan, Urgot, and LeBlanc. In the previous game, that's Rakan and LeBlanc off the table, Aatrox from EDG, and we'll see if Urgot follows suit.
Let's see if the order is important here. This is the first ban LeBlanc, then Rakan second, and they're leaving Urgot as the potential last ban. Didn't actually matter, they went for it straight away once they saw the bans on the side of EDG. No change needed, and there's the Irelia ban we just mentioned. It was one of the options for EDG to try and change something in this third game. And
it left Swain up. We know both Caps and Whippo can play that, but instead, it's a near insta-lock on that Xin Zhao.
Yeah, and I think that Xin Zhao as a champion dictates the pace of the early game to such a high degree that it is going to continue to see so much play. You can flip it, however, by saying, okay, let's take some more team fight presence and try and execute that.
But that's why I feel like with his new ulti after the rework, he actually works really well in those fights as well here. But I'm just a simple man. I see Xin Zhao and Ornn, and I'm really happy. And I got Xin Zhao already locked in very early, so I like what Fnatic are trying to prioritize. Is this Camille Galio on the other side? Galio coming in with the pick here for Scout, seeing as they take the Camille this early on.
If that does end up being the case, would you like to see the Ornn early? Do you think it will be banned out later? What options do Fnatic have?
I think a lot of teams don't have to pick it. It is just a very powerful pick if you want strong team fight. If you are EDG and you need more engaged, you could see it later on in the draft, but we're most likely looking at Braum Sivir if Fnatic want to draft AD carry. Otherwise, they save AD carry because they feel like they have enough picks for Reckless, and they can go for something else. But they keep it standard.
Yeah, and I think that keeping it standard in this
Alistar,
situation is very important. I think that Alistar will be the lock-in here. However, that means that Galio will not see play. Scout is the win condition. Mako has other champions that he can play. This, to me, is a good adaptation.
Let's see what they decide to do in the end. If you do take your mid lane here, you can ban away 2 mid laners from Caps. Try and get you the best matchup possible.
Because people will not remember this, but in 2015, 2016, Mako was a big lane kingdom support. Sure, he would play Alistar, but he would also play things like Nami, he would play things like Zyra, he would play up in the lane. Whilst you see a ton of wave clear coming out there, if they can get, you know, something like a Morgana down in the bottom lane, they can also just look to put the screws in and try and 2v2.
See what they decide to do, and if Fnatic ban Alistar, it's probably the go-to choice for the coaching staff. We know that Camille can flex to top as well, so it's not a guaranteed jungle Camille.
And that's why I like not banning Ornn here, because I think that if you give Fnatic 2 winning lanes, then you are on the clock. However, if you're able to guarantee Ray a good matchup by saving his counter pick, banning away something like the Victor, and then allowing him to pick his poison in a tank versus tank matchup, you might be in a better situation for EDG.
So I have Shen available, and we've seen a lot of Shen support coming in the second phase. Fnatic, they realized that as well. So they removed both of the expected support picks. Now you already have the Braum locked in on the side of Fnatic.
Gragas, Thresh, Nautilus, there are so many supports still available. Sivir does give you a more free laning phase. I do think that right now EDG have options.
I haven't been in love with the Threshers this tournament. Let's see whether or not Mako decides to lock it in. The Tahm Kench's, the safety, definitely a more powerful tool. And look at the mid lane bans here. Irelia, Akali, the Swain, the LeBlanc. I want to see what Caps runs into Syndra.
Is this a band-aid to the 1-3-1 that Fnatic have been able to use? Are they trying to attack a side lane? Is this going to be potentially a Nocturne last pick right now and just continue to try and go at Caps at Whippo?
If they do commit to the Camille top lane, they can do it. Because Tahm Kench itself doesn't really fit into what EDG are building right now. Tahm Kench, Kai'Sa, that's really a meh laning phase. Man, Fnatic, you are literally going straight into my heart here. Like, we get everything right now for them.
In saying that, if you remove the nameplates, which I know is a crappy way to do analysis, this right now is a draft that can attack a tank top incredibly well.
Whoa!
Top. That's a Yasuo. Oh, Caps.
What do you think? Yasuo into Syndra.
So a lot of mid laners think this is a really good matchup for Yasuo, but a mid laner like Rookie actually thinks it's good for the Syndra. You just gotta hold the ulti, and then you don't use it straight into the wind wall. But that is very specific depending on which mid laner you ask. I'm sure if you go to Caps, he will say, I got Xin Zhao on my side, and I'm a Yasuo versus Syndra. We're gonna stomp this mid lane.
This is one of the highest value Poppy picks I think we have ever seen. He stops so much of the aggression.
But it's not a split pusher spawn. We didn't get the 1-3-1 EDG with the Tahm Kench mid lane. We're getting a team fight comp from EDG with Camille as the only engaged tool. While Fnatic, they have Ornn on their side, Xin Zhao following up, and then you know when someone gets knocked up in the backline, Yasuo flies in.
Who remembers Caps' Yasuo from the mid-season invitational earlier this year? That is the performance that Caps will be wanting to channel on this mono damage composition with Xin, Yasuo, and Sivir. If Poppy is allowed to get tanky enough, I think there can be concerns, but my word, you've got to survive a lot in the early game. And there's a lot of playmaking potential for Fnatic.
And I assume this is going to probably be Conqueror. You know, you're going to have so much AoE damage coming out of Sivir, who does just ramp up and kind of start ignoring armor. So this is one of those situations where I don't feel like single target damage is going to be as relevant into the late game.
We just have to see what happens mid, because the Syndra can also try and shut down the Yasuo. You can try and play around the wind wall. On your side, there's a Camille jungle, so we know gank potential when you can hook onto walls is there for you as Camille. You can't really block anything when she flashes past her with a hook shot onto a Yasuo.
And the other thing is you can just go try and find the mid lane and just push out jungler. Go push out mid lane as a Syndra. Just try and ult Broxer 10 times in this game. You know, forget about Caps, because this is one of those lanes that if one kill goes over, is snowbally as heck.
Because we know nothing will really happen 1v1 top, and it's Tahm Kench Kai'Sa bot lane. That is not a kill lane by any means.
Well, I can definitely tell that Deficio is not super in love with EDG composition. Let's see how they play it out. The series is tied at 1-1. The #1 seed from the European LCS, Fnatic, is getting the chance in Busan, as they are taking on the #3 seed from the LPL in Edward Gaming. The winner of this series will face Cloud9 next weekend in the semi-finals at Worlds. And it'll be 2 Nexus secures that will get them there.
And I will just say, I haven't fully decided yet if I'm in love with the comp or not from EDG.
I know the pillar talk
I'm
enough to know
still
you don't
trying
like
to think about what they can do, because I think that team fighting can actually work with some good tools with Kai'Sa and Poppy.
He's just trying to see how the mid game goes, to see whether they get ahead.
Ask me before the Nexus dies, and I will tell you if I like it or not.
Deficio. Odds that Mako on Tahm Kench kills someone at level 2. We have seen it happen so many times.
Ignite, Glacial Augment. He is against Hylissang, who likes to walk forward early in lane.
Answer the question, Deficio. What are the odds?
I'm giving you 30% chance.
I will take it.
All right, we'll keep a close eye on this bottom lane level 2, whether or not iBoy and Mako have 30% or more chance to take down either.
I mean, they only have a chance if Fnatic actually try and take the trade against the Tahm Kench.
All right, we'll keep a close eye on that lane. For now, though, Fnatic, they were set up in the top bush. They were staring down Ray, who did back away from his tri-bush. And now Reckless and Hilly, they're going to help Brox out.
Early adaptation here. They actually bring Whippo down to the fight in case he engages back there. Now he starts the long trek back to the top lane. He knows that Ray is going to be leashing. The wave's not going to be pulled. Should not lose all that much.
Well, early on, EDG is in lane. Bot side, no minions dies, however, so Fnatic do not lose any experience whatsoever by being slightly late. Still, though, I'm not expecting a whole lot in this bottom lane, other than maybe the first couple levels with the Tahm Kench. Let's see what happens with Hara here. The junglers, That's what we're looking at, and the 2 mid laners.
And already, Haro is heading down bottom lane. You can see that they're pushing.
He's just killing the Rift Scuttler.
Off turret.
Where does he go after the Scuttler? That's the question. Spawn's very excited.
Probably blue buff. No, you can get
Potential.
excited for that too. He's killing a blue buff. That's nice.
Flying into the hype a little bit there, Spawn. Level 2's picked up by iBoy and Mako. Void Seeker will come out from iBoy, but underneath the tower, I think a level 2 kill is very, very difficult to pull off. And for the time being, Reckless and Hylissang playing it as expected, safely.
Yeah, so let's instead focus on Scout versus Caps. We might get the junglers later joining in as well. Early on, Scout can push. Obviously, very little wave clear on the side of Caps. And he typically needs a bit of time before he starts getting a lot of kill push, and that's when you can try and do something. In this case here, Scout will just let him dance around the minion wave.
While that's happening, Ray and Whippo, they're going to be trading up in the top lane. Poppy into Ornn, tank v tank. They'll just be slapping one another until we see some jungle intervention. And we see a Zinzao and a Camille. If anybody decides to go up top, it can really swing that matchup.
And let's see around mid lane. Here's Broxah.
All right, let's take a look. There's the Audacious Charge. 3 Talon Strike is flashed away from, so advantage to Broxah and Caps as they've already got the Summoner spell. That means Scout has to play a little more cautiously in the coming minutes. Summons the Dark Sphere right behind Caps, and that's a very big advantage to Fnatic's mid lane.
And that's one of the reasons that Xin Zhao right now is just so potent in the early game. You could see that Scout had stunned the main damage threat in the mid laner. He tried to walk away, but Xin Zhao has his own damage. He has his own CC. He brings everything to a gank at this stage of the game, so you still have to respect it with the flash.
We have to also look at Ray in the late game on Poppy. This was the last pick. They didn't want to go for any sort of like, split pushing top laner with the TK. They knew already with Scout on Syndra they couldn't go 1-3-1 because he would lose the side lane to Caps. So they go with the full team fight tank. And what's really cool about Poppy, you already said this, when they got locked in, it was like very high value because you can obviously block a lot of dashes. There's dash from Broxah, there's dash from Caps. Also from Whippo.
Yep.
Actually, when he's trying to ulti and everything, if you're right next to him, you can stop him from reactivating it. There's a lot of things Ray can do to be really annoying this game.
In 2 ways, because the ultimate gives away where Whippo is standing. So if he ultimates and you channel your ultimate, you just throw it. As we now see potentially some more action in this mid lane.
I always hold my breath when a jungle waits in lane next to Caps, because Caps and Whippo are 2 of the guys that like to step forward.
Yeah, he's mainly here for the counter game in case Broxah like flashes in onto the no flash Syndra here. Didn't happen so far. I think they can wait for Caps level 6. There's plenty of time before Scout has his flash again, and we said this in Champs League. The moment we saw the Yasuo plus Xin Zhao combination, it is really not fun to play Syndra against.
And Yasuo, much like old school Zed, is one of those melee assassins that still has very good wave clear. So if you get someone down low in mana, you can play the war of attrition. You can continually shove into them, force them out, make them stick around. You saw they interrupted the recall out of Scout. Now this gives Caps free time to be able to go back.
All right, Ray completes a teleport. There's no support up in the top lane. He's just going to start picking the fight here with the Balmy Cinder. Whippo's already returned to lane. Got that teleport available to him. So small teleport advantage in favor of Fnatic for the next couple of minutes. If anything breaks out, CS in favor of Ray and Scout for the time being. Mako and Haro are going to come up, but Brox is here to respond as well. The tongue lashing comes out, so now Mako's under a little bit of trouble. Looking for the Steel Tempest knockup. There was nothing to land, and they're going to back away.
And you can see that this was all because Caps interrupted that first recall, and now Scout is just stuck in the mid lane. He's going to lose a wave of CS because Boots 2 pick up first for the Yasuo, and potentially now they're going to send more people at it.
All right, Caps is going to be able to escape here. He's got flash available to him. Ray actually threw down the interrupt, and it was optimistic at best.
I want a top laner that looks at me the way that Ray looks at Scout sometimes, because he's just ran from his top lane to pull away for his mid laner.
Mako's still around mid as well, but you're not too scared of the early Tahm Kench in the laning phase here, so he ends up just walking back down to the bottom lane. iBoy versus Reckless, even in form at the moment, and that's kind of what we expect from this bot lane when it's Braum versus Tahm Kench. Not a whole lot of action. And Fnatic, they're just looking towards mid again.
All right, bang on even game to get to 7 minutes. Scout has been able to return with that lost chapter. He manages to use the Scat of the Week. Gets a little bit of chip damage onto Caps, but Caps has some supports, and he's farming it very well. Reached level 6 already. Down 4 CS in lane. Well, that's a good position to be in for Fnatic. Remember the early gank on the Scout.
And this kind of thing again with EDG's draft, where it's hard to look at it and say, wow, is it terrible or is there something they can actually do? Because there are just so many tools that don't normally fit that well together. Like, it's not a Camille Galio and you scream, oh my god, fantastic backline dive, or it's Tahm Kench, you know, with a strong early AD carry who's just pushing in 24/7 in the bottom lane and then playing 1-3-1 later. So I just want to see how they actually want to execute the fights, because they do have some serious damage with Syndra, Camille, and the Kai'Sa. And we do know that Fnatic wants to reach the backline, and that's why Mako's Tahm Kench could save the day if one of his carries gets knocked up.
I also think a little part of EDG when this game started was like, okay, we've seen their early game, but can they really consistently execute on it? We saw it against IG a little bit. Brox are able to be so impactful. And then when they had won that game too, bit of a trade.
Let's see how this turns out. Ultimates are available, actually, so Ray could throw down the Keeper's Verdict, and he does. Defensive flash from Whippo, but Ray cannot chase under the tower. The Forge Guard is still available to Whippo, and here comes Haro. So it ends up being a trade of flashes, and I think Whippo should be able to escape with his life.
Yeah, really nice play out of Broxer here to also come towards the play. Now it's going to be a 2-on-1, and they have seen Haro. They use the ultimate.
All right, here comes the Ornn Horn. That's a knock-up onto Haro. Brox is going to come in from behind. Whippo wants to try and make this one work. Now Ray is the target. 1 and 2, 3 Talon Strike. That's the flash forward. Audacious charge. He's not going to get proc just yet. Broxer holds onto it and gets the flash at Haro as well.
Yeah, I think Ray got to block the first dash there from Broxer, so it was on cooldown, which is why he flashed onto Haro after. 2 flashes blown by EDG. Same thing for Fnatic on the other side.
And that's one of those games where you just sit back and kind of golf clap. Very well played from both of the teams to deny the kill. Action bottom.
Oh, a lot of good damage onto iBoy, actually. Stun lands onto Mako. Hylissang decides to commit the ulti. That's a flash from Mako. The Devour, I believe this should still be available as the tongue lashing comes out. Advantage to Fnatic in the 2v2.
Still, iBoy's picking up a lot of farm, and I'm really looking at him as the main carry in the late game team fights. When all the Fnatic dive onto them, iBoy can do the same against the Fnatic backline, but he needs to get there in time. For now, this game is very, very even in early laning phase. Ray has done very well on the Poppy top. Actually been a super good last pick for him during the laning phase.
And this is what I was saying. It seems like a lot of respect given to Fnatic's early game of the impact they can have. So some late game scaling finally invested into from EDG. They say, okay, our early game is a bit of a coin flip. We've won one, we've lost one, off the back end of a very good early invade, maybe not able to replicate that with guarantees. So let's go towards what we've always been good at. Let's look for some team fighting. Haro now getting collapsed onto by a few members.
Yeah, take a look at the minimap. iBoy and Mako, they're just leaving their base. BF Sword has been picked up, but Hylissang and Reckless will be left unattended in the bottom lane, get a lot of damage onto this turret. Haro can't even really stay anywhere near. There's a lot of risk with Broxer waiting in the rings as he's just picked up the Skeletron.
One thing we might see once Tahm Kench has ulti is Haro goes mid, ulti's onto Caps to keep him there. Mako joins in with TK, and suddenly you 4-man attack Caps, you kill him, and you can go for his turret or go for a Rift Tail. Like, there are tools there for EDG to keep people in place and use the TK ulti that's now available. Hard for them bot lane 2v2, but you can always go towards mid lane where you have Scout on the Syndra.
It's also dangerous to give Tahm Kench a free push on a wave the way that we just saw, because he can recall and go topside. Very much cheat tempo because he cuts out half the lane as he ults up there. You can already see that Ray, when he wants to, has got the push in that lane. They can try and just flip the map, open it up, because once again, they are looking for these team fights. Now that Dragon's gone, not all that much reason to stay in the bottom lane.
Yeah, I agree. Also, Ocean Drake is huge for Ray in the 1v1 top lane, makes it even harder for Whippo. So far, what EDG is trying to do in the early game is working fine for them. They're getting farm on all the important members, and Fnatic did not re-gank the mid lane when Scout had no flash, so they didn't get a first spot and try and shut down Syndra. They actually allowed him to farm it up, also because Ray and Mako kept going into mid to protect him.
And that's kind of 2 games in a row as iBoy goes forward.
All right, remember, no flash on Mako. Let's see what he can do. iBoy's going to use a Killer Instinct to escape, gets stunned up. There's a good Devour. He manages to escape with his life.
I love that play from Mako right here. He knows if he stays out of range from the CC, iBoy can always ult a little bit towards him. He's mid though.
All right, let's take a look. Caps will manage to get the knock-up onto Haro. He's holding on to that last breath. The Tahm Kench not even going to be needed. Scout manages to find the stun.
That was exactly the play we wanted to see from EDG. Use TK ulti plus Camille ulti to lock Caps in place and then kill him. They might lose a bot lane turret for it. They're all moving down to see if they can actually force Fnatic away. No, but Brox is here too, so they should feel fine.
That is just a good read of the map. Broxah, however, dodged Mako's sight.
Ooh, is this a little bit of a counter kill? The tower has fallen. Now the teleport's starting to be channeled. Mako's got that grey health. He pops it, stays alive just long enough for the rest of Edward Gaming to arrive. Broxah gets the first kill for Fnatic, and in the ensuing team fight now, Haro's running for his life. He doesn't have access to the Hextech ultimatum, but Ray with a beautiful poppycopter. He holds Fnatic in place. There's not enough follow-up damage though. Hylissang escapes with his life. The exhaust keeps him alive and gets out.
Still very even here. Mako did die. Bot lane turret went down, but EDG got that first kill in mid. This is after Mako makes a great play bot lane to save his AD carry and stay alive. Then he goes in with Haro and Scout sidesteps the knock-up from Cabs. Here's a fight.
All right, Last Breath was used this time round as well as Steel Tempest, and the dashes Cabs are slowed down.
He got
One more tower shot. It's a 1-for-1 trade.
But still, you can see that Caps, even with losing that kill, is willing to go aggressive in the lane on a knife's edge of being able to escape that one. Scout without summoners has to be careful.
I think the stopwatch was there from Scout during the fight. We just have to check in the replay. For now, he didn't use it. Ended up going 1-for-1 in the trade. The Syndra is getting her kills. That is great for EDG. Here's the fight though. Caps so down to him, blocks the stun from Scout, hits the knock-up. Ulti's just outside of tower range. And now you get the 1-for-1 trade.
What I love about this is, in Picks and Bans, to Fisher, you talked about how a lot of players think it's Yasuo favored. Scout thinks it's a little bit Syndra favored. No definitive answer yet. It is still,
Not yet.
It is still 1-for-1. There's Caps as Yasuo, as we've seen in ULCS Summer. But I think when I think of his Yasuo performance, it's the 1v9 performances that he showed up on in MSI. It's his Invitational earlier this year.
And we know he's going to outscale the Syndra, but still for now, EDG have tools to try and keep him down. And that's what I love about the play they used earlier. Kind of explains a bit about Mako's choice with the Tahm Kench to try and go mid lane as well with that first ulti. Let's see if the Scout can get him here.
All right, Hylissang's waiting in the wings. Here comes Haro as well. Good damage from Scout. Engage as well as the Abyssal Voyage. Unleash power from Caps. He's already down. Haro gets the kill in a 4-man stack.
And we see the tools that Ray has available to him. As soon as he gets on top of Caps, he can go nowhere. There is no counterplay to that without Flash available. EDG now can look towards a Rift Herald.
And second time, Mako joins the mid lane with ulti. They know Caps is going to try and fight, and they know they can shut him down. They're moving towards top side.
Cancelled his base.
Ray is actually moving in. Oh, he's not moving in behind. Took the blast cone over. Still EDG, shutting down the Yasuo.
All right, let's talk about Reckless, though, because the rest of Fnatic, after they got that tower bonus in the bottom lane, they put Reckless mid for a touch, then they moved him to the top lane. So Fnatic have got some map presence in their favor. Keeper's Verdict goes out. There's a swing and a miss. But Edward Gaming are still able to pick up the Rift Herald. So EDG, they're ahead in gold. They've got Rift Herald. It's 15 minutes on the clock, and they're looking pretty good.
Little challenges like that are actually crucial, as now Broxah, maybe a bit greedy, takes away a camp as well, because it denies easy access back into the mid lane. It gets this chip damage down. So Fnatic not really trying to contest for the Rift Herald there, but just trying to get some priority on the map.
And you can feel the tension building as now the first item spikes have started to come in. Sunfire for Ray, Iceborne for Whippo, Storm Razors for the AD carries, and we're starting to see both teams be a little more proactive, more willing to look for those opportunities, and so far it's been EDG that come out ahead with that Tahm Kench.
They get the Rift Herald. Another one of the moves we mentioned earlier. Go mid, kill Cap, take Rift. Use that to gain your advantage. If they can get a mid lane turret with it, would be huge for the team. And what we're going to see now that the map is splitting up is where EDG needs to be very decisive. That's kind of one of the hard things about the draft they picked here. They don't have super easy hard engage other than the Camille. And that's the key thing, because you don't stop the Yasuo 1v1 with Syndra in the side lane. You stop him by sending Haro to that lane, and you then go for a kill. Maybe Tahm Kench joins as well, and you take him down multiple members. Or you try and make that play mid where you hard engage in and try and get on to the backline of Fnatic to force the fight.
And more importantly, you need to be able to take something off the back end of the play. You can't just keep killing Caps, because ultimately he should be able to push up in the lane, he should be able to farm up, and Yasuo with farm just gets to a point where he can become uncontested in the 1v1. So looking to see whether it is a play on the bot lane to try and, you know, get Whippo's flash, make him less of a team fight presence, whether they continue to try and go towards Caps' lane and maybe take a turret off the back end of it with Rift Herald, because they do need to be decisive around some objectives soon.
All right, well, one of the objectives is another Ocean Drake. It has spawned. You can see EDG posturing towards it. EDG have been pretty good with Dragon Control in the 3 games of this series already. but they get cut off by Fnatic and instantly pushed back.
But we are at a point in the game here where a fight can go either way. You don't have your crit items, all the crit items you need on the Yasuo just yet, and Syndra is sitting at level 11, rank 2 ulti available, so a lot of damage on both sides. Really looking for Haro, and he's engaged here. Who can he get on to in the backline of Fnatic?
And vice versa. What about Call of the Forge God? What does Bwipo do? Here comes Ray. Uses that steadfast presence, just taunting and baiting and trying to find an opportunity, and he's not finding it yet.
And maybe now they actually have to wait for it to come back available. Keep jockeying over this lane. Top lane wave is pushing in.
All right, Caps is going to look for an opportunity. Where's the knockup? Keeper's Verdi comes in and knocks Broxah away.
Ooh.
There's no follow-up. There goes Haro. They've already blown up Caps. This is a fantastic fight for Edward Gaming. They've already got 2.
And EDG, they were waiting and waiting and waiting. They see Fnatic suddenly move forward in the mid lane, blow the Ornn horn as well. But EDG, they were ready for this one. They have so much damage they can return onto Caps and Bwipo here. Great fight by them. And the Rift held in the mid lane.
And just some uncharacteristic patience from the LPL squad, waiting for the wind wall to come out, then instantly blowing up the mid laner of Fnatic.
Oh, they're gonna get another one. Such a big play. It doesn't matter what's gonna happen late game in a side lane against Yasuo if you can just do this. Win the fight here. 18 minutes in with Fnatic are not very strong.
2,500 gold lead after finding 2 kills in the mid lane and securing 2 towers. Edward Gaming using a fantastic opportunity to grasp control in Game 3.
This is why I didn't want to answer your question earlier, because what they're doing here with their draft is super smart. I love the play. They're just waiting for Caps to overextend. And then when the engage happens, the stun lands from Scout, wind wall is already down, and they completely punish Fnatic.
Yeah, absolutely beautifully done there by EDG and the Ace of Predator replay. And as we will be exiting it, there was pressure from Fnatic on the mid-outer turret. They were able to secure it while we reviewed that play, but it is still an EDG advantage. They have every single metric in their favor. They've got the Dragon, the gold lead, the towers are even, but the kill lead as well. And as we get close to 20 minutes, this is going to be a very interesting mid-game.
And Iceborne Gauntlet, because we see it so much on Ezreal, is one of those items that it's like a negligible slow. It hits you, you walk out of it, it's fine, he doesn't really build armor. Remember that the circumference or radius, whatever you want to call of the item, scales up as you get more armor. Ray soon is going to be taking lanes of presence away with the Iceborne Gauntlet. If he gets onto the back line, he just becomes so annoying to try and peel off.
Yeah, and as long as EDG can continue being in control and actually be the ones to force the objective, it's really easy to use Poppy ulti to just knock whoever's trying to check what you're doing around Baron, just knock them away. Make sure Broxah cannot even get close to a potential steal, and that's kind of the key thing. A lot of the Fnatic setup around Caps is going to come down to Bwipo, and then, of course, Broxah getting in towards EDG and landing some knockups and then set up the play. But that's not going to happen right now, and Mako's also there on the T-gate to try and save whoever is actually the target. They're starting at Drake again. Remember, this Yasuo is not very strong at this point.
All right, he's only got the Phantom Dancer, a pickaxe, and a couple of ruby crystals to work with. So Caps still trying to find a little bit more damage to add to the stack. Also, Reckless and iBoy still building towards their second items. The Dragon was interrupted, Fnatic peeled back, and that Ocean Drake lives for now.
And both EDG and Fnatic realize what a dangerous stage this game is at, because we've got Stormrazor Rush, not a late game scaling Kai'Sa, wants to be online a little bit earlier. You've got things like the Iceborne Gauntlet, these more hybrid mid-game items. EDG recognizing if they don't seize control now, this game becomes more difficult to play against.
And they know play around objectives, because then you don't need a lot of hard engage. You can just force the enemy team to come to you. Fnatic got 2 members bot side, 3 even with Broxah here. We'll get the Rift Guard to check if anything's happening. EDG are not rushing towards Baron.
No, not just yet. They've got the damage to do so if they wanted to. The Camille and the Kai'Sa. But for the time being, EDG content with a 2,500-3,000 gold lead that they have, and the pressure is on Fnatic to find a team fight to get them back in the game.
Yeah, and that's what EDG wants. They want Fnatic to engage on them so they can use Scout and iBoy to wait and see what's going on, save one of them, and then counter-engage. Poppy ulti can be huge here for sure if you get 1 or 2 guys away the moment Fnatic try and fight. Suddenly Fnatic are not sitting with 5 players.
And this is finally the level up in the LPL that fans have demanded to see across years. Where's the infrastructure? Where is the discipline? Where is the coaching? Finally, we're saying that this is a lineup that is going to take a hit, is going to wait, assess the situation, then determine whether it is a good time to counterpunch. Exciting changes in the LPL region.
I can tell you've cast LPL for a very long time, Sport, because that was one of the most impassioned mini speeches I've heard. And, you know, you talked about waiting and sitting back after taking a punch. Look at the hourglass on Scout. First big completion already. That's going to keep him alive against the likes of Caps. So managed to avoid the first knock-up and really going to help out these next pivotal minutes. For
Exactly. And with all the focus around mid from EDG with TK ultis and Haro, they completely stopped Caps from getting away with the game and actually using Yasuo Xin Zhao to try and stop Scout from doing anything. He's 1-4 and he's trying to build Asterix right now. He is not a threat at all. So you have so much time on EDG's side to pick the correct fights, ideally around an objective so you don't have to pull off too many engages.
Well, on the bright side, if the slower pace of game continues, Fnatic are almost halfway to the 500 CS Sivir win condition, which has continued to develop. We're seeing Sivir a little bit more as we go through playoffs, and Reckless himself has been the 500 CS Sivir win condition many times in the organization's history. But they're down 3.5k and Fnatic cannot afford to give up more.
And many times against this EDG lineup, he was the main carry. I went back and had a look at the 2015 scoreboard, and he's sitting there 9-1-7 on things like Jinx, these late game scaling 80 carries, the ability to sucker EDG in, make them overreach for a team fight, then run them down. Certainly still a potential on the silver.
He was the team fighting 80 carry, the cleanup 80 carry actually took over that job from Steelback back in 2015, where it was the Huni rain over show. Obviously on Fnatic, all about the early game snowball from top side, but Reckless was just going to be that consistent team fighter and the guy who brought utility to the table. That's what he's doing right now with the Sivir, and based on the game flow, as you guys highlighted, he's going to have to be probably the main carry on the team.
Yeah, and I think that it is so almost poetic that this year the EU LCS has gone back to the solo lanes. You know, we're talking more about Wonder, more about people like Whippo, Caps, as well as Perks for G2. Bottom lane is nearly back in that cleanup mentality that we've seen so much before. People like Hyun and people like Reckless being able to take the unglamorous jobs on their team.
He can do that. Obviously, Reckless, if you ask him right now, would probably highlight that he's two-time MVP and has definitely been the main carry as well on Fnatic, just not during the summer split.
And of course, if Fnatic go down, they've still got Soaz waiting in the wings as a potential in case of emergency break glass. The reason I bring that up is 25 minutes into the game, EDG still have a 2,500-3,000 gold lead. While it's not over, it is still advantageous to the LPL.
Yeah, and then EDG will have side selection, so they can go red side again, and we can just continue to stay on the same side, but after each game, we've had changes in bans. Irelia was banned by EDG in this one, and then they draft this composition here that, while it might late game struggle with the 1-3-1 comp, here in the early mid game, they have a lot of tools to stop it from ever happening. So EDG have the composition now to start playing around Baron. They just need to do it.
All right, Deficio, we're getting close to late game. 25 minutes in, I start anticipating the 30, 35, 40-minute team fights. You touched on EDG looking at Baron as Scout. We'll get a little ping there onto Fnatic. But how do Fnatic start to get back into this game? I see they've still got an outer tower that's going to fall shortly. There's an Infernal coming up in a minute and a half. And is this really just buy time to get damage?
Yeah, I actually think it is at this stage. You can see that if EDG get there first, they're going to punt some away, they're going to look for the objective, they're going to look to continue to scale. If it is 3.5 items versus 3 items, if you have your Infinity Edge, after now the Steric's picked up, if Reckless can get towards it as well, you can start winning some 5v5. Maybe you can look to start getting pressure again in a side lane, but for now, it just becomes about balancing the waves and make sure you're not giving too much up to the EDG lineup.
That's why it's all in favor of EDG. They also have iBoy late game as some nice insurance on the Kai'Sa. Meanwhile, Scout, I think pretty smart actually with the Hourglass build, said, you know what, I need to survive the engage, and after, then I can carry.
Really like the decision making all game long from EDG. They've made sure that this Yasuo has simply not been able to take over. Sterix has been completed, and for the time being, EDG, they are now setting up some sort of vision in and around Dragon, pushing together as a unit. Ray will be jumped on here. The Keeper's Verdict will in fact knock away Cap, so he escapes with just the use of his ultimate.
In saying that, there is 20 seconds for a major objective to be available in this Infernal Dragon.
They're
now
all
that they're
going
nothing.
again?
Are they going one more time?
Ray knows. He can see everything with the ward right there.
Do Fnatic split it? If EDG start Dragon, are they bold enough to go Baron? I think that's too risky, but they pulled EDG towards Fnatic, and the recall completes.
But it's also because EDG have control of mid. They can literally go stop Fnatic from doing anything here, stop Baron themselves, or just go back to Infernal. It's EDG in control. EDG who can decide where the fight is supposed to be.
I've heard the statement a few times. EDG's mid-game decision-making, questionable problems. Is this enough of a lead spawn for EDG to utilize it as well as it in game one?
Well, I think this actually shows some growth because, yes, it is enough of the lead, and their also decision-making so far has been quite good. They're now backing their top laner. He's probably got a Warmog's armor. They're checking for vision before they rush into this objective.
All right, Infernal Drake has been started. Hylissang will try to body block at least a little. Down and secured by the smite. Core of the Forge God comes out. It's interrupted. No follow-up. Caps is still waiting for the last breath. He finally throws it down, but it's only on Tomeko. Bwippo gets the first kill of the fight, and it's a little bit messy. Scout running for his life. He's already unleashed his power, but he hasn't killed the damage dealers. Rekkles is still untouched as a boomerang blade flies across the team. Eyeboy is slowed down. That's a great stun from Eyeboy. Killer instinct into death. Eyeboy suicides. He flies into Fnatic. He gets dunked. It's a triple kill for Rekkles.
It was suddenly all about the AD carry here. Fnatic found a way to the Infernal Drake bot lane.
All right, now Haro will be able to find something onto Bwippo. There's a lot of armor to work through. Velo's breath is helping. Bwippo tries to turn it around and gets chunked down by the Precision Protocol.
Yeah, and sure, you get a kill, but you've just given up the Baron. You asked about EDG's mid-game, and they throw it all the way on the back end of a hero ultimate from Eyeboy.
At the start actually looked nice with Ray in the backline. He stopped Bwippo from doing anything with his ulti, but suddenly EDG could not get in there. They're trying now. He's nice in time. Is he in time?
Whoa, that was way
There was no
too
smite
close.
on Broxah. There was no smite on him, but they got it done. So let's see the fight here. Early setup, Hylissang is split from the team, and they get a stun, plus they get Ray into the background. This is great setup, but now we get the knock-up, and Caps is saving Windwall. Wait for it until you see the ulti from Scout. That's when it comes out. Here you go, ulti comes in, nothing actually ends up hitting at all, and Ray is trying his best to be a frontliner, but Eyeboy is not allowed to deal damage until he finds a chance to jump in, but he just dies.
And what are you fighting for? Look at Rekkles' position the whole time. Clean up AD carry, able to grab the triple kill for himself. But EDG, what is going on? The dragon is gone.
We kept highlighting that what EDG wants to do is beat the team to start the objective and force Fnatic to engage on them, so they can disengage at first with Poppy ulti, with Tahm Kench, and then turn it around when someone overextends. But this time, it was EDG because they left the river, who had to engage onto Fnatic, and the front line got split up.
And after one team fight, the kill score is now 7-6. Look at the damage that Rekkles was able to put down. The gold is now negligible at 1,530 minutes. And with Baron buff for the next 2 minutes, Fnatic have regained a footing in this match.
And the difference between this Kai'Sa comp and the last Kai'Sa comp is that Eyeboy cannot dive in. He hasn't got a Shen. He hasn't got a Galio. He has no form of protection. He needs to fight front to back. This is the strength of Kai'Sa. She can do both, but over-aggression from the EDG AD carry.
And during MSI, when Fnatic said there's a chance they could make the final, it was all about Caps. Rekkles did not have a good tournament. But during Worlds, he has shown that if Caps is not the one to get ahead, you can still rely on your AD carry to take over team fights. He did it in the final against Schalke. He just did it here in this team fight.
I definitely think the entire Fnatic squad has shown growth since that MSI performance, and Soaz has been able to rejoin the team after his wrist injury in the spring split. We see a depth to the roster in terms of play style, in terms of decision making. They have multiple players who can carry, and they are a very, very real threat. They are the last first seed standing in the bracket. Every other first seed from World's groups has been eliminated. And Fnatic are now looking to go up 2-1 in the series if they can retake absolute control. Look how they're pushing Vision. Look how they're now starting to strangle EDG out of the game.
Still want to highlight, Ray's ulti can be used here if Fnatic are sieging to try and separate the team. And then Haro can jump in on Camille and find that one target you can try and kill. It's always an option for them. It just gets harder and harder, because as we kept highlighting, in the late game, it is very Fnatic favored based on the draft.
And I think that right now, Rekkles' itemization is on point, because he's only got one tank to deal with as they actually use the Ornhorn.
All right, Call of the Forge God comes out. They're not going to follow up with the last breath, but the Glacial Fissure does. So 2 ultimates for the tower as Baron expires in 10 seconds. Fnatic will be content with the objective. Nothing further was presented and they can back away.
Yeah, so still, for EDG, not the worst situation ever. Like,
They're up in gold.
exactly, they're up in gold. Fnatic just got the Baron, but only managed to secure this bot lane tier 2 and also the mid lane one, but that's not a whole lot.
I am still nervous for Fnatic. When I think of all of the skirmishes and the fights that have happened this game, EDG have won more of them. Yes, Fnatic won the most recent one that unlocked Baron and even the game out, but iBoy with Hurricane, Stormrazor, Rageblade getting close to Infinity Edge, Scout getting close to Death Gap. There's a lot of tools that EDG can utilize.
However, I do respect the patience. When you're behind 5,000 gold, it's kind of a 2-Baron game. You know, the 1 Baron to get you back to even. They've succeeded on that. They've gone back. They have the great items. They're nearly about to go towards Infinity Edge on Caps. In fact, he might have it right now as he's recalling. Now it's the one to win the game as they have come online.
And this is where EDG, you look at all the great stuff you did early to keep this Yasuo down, and then the next time you click tab here at 32 minutes, he's suddenly sitting with 3 items, and he's actually picked up everything he needs to be a
Ahead
carry.
of Scout. Scout yet to complete that 3rd item.
And let's talk about the mentality that this then proves, because EDG, you win game 1, it's a landslide. Game 2, they hit back. Early game comp goes their way. All of a sudden now you're playing against a late game comp at 33 minutes. They're team fighting the LPL team, and they're still coming up trumps. Like, is there the Hail Mary bring clear love in? If this doesn't work out, you are running out of options.
Personally, I would keep Haro unless you need him. You need clear love for leadership. Let's still see what happens in this game. We keep mentioning the Yasuo, but honestly, Reckless is the carry. Reckless is the player we're looking at in this game. He showed that last fight. He has more items than anyone in this game. And if you are Fnatic, you can wait 1 minute 45 seconds for Baron to respawn, start the Baron, and force this EDG comp to try and engage onto you, which is not what they want to do.
Keeping up to date with the breakpoints. Level 16 just achieved for Scout. Go back, get your death cap. That now means that he is well and truly online. No MR picked up by Reckless means that if he spell shields something and that ultimate doesn't get win wall, he gets popped. That is so much of the potency gone. Now it comes down to execution. And when you look at Fnatic's lineup, it is so much easier to do what you need to do. Stand front to back and team fight.
That's very true, but I just want to see Ray's ulti in this fight. I think he can really decide everything. Isolate Fnatic, knock them around, and suddenly 1 or 2 guys are left on their own. iBoy can fly in with his ulti. Haro can fly in with his insane mobility on Camille. Like, I think there is enough tools to try and split them up and find 1 or 2 picks very quickly to win the fight.
And it goes down to execution, like you're saying, Spawn. We've seen the Poppy ultimate several times this year, just how game-changing it can be, especially when you look at the objectives, right? Elder Drake is a couple minutes away. We're 45 seconds away from Baron. That makes it easier for Ray to find a target and to pick him out with that Keeper's Verdict. Fnatic are waiting inside this bush, waiting for a target to jump on. They haven't cleared out EDG's wards, but thank you to the observers. You can see EDG haven't spotted Fnatic members yet, but they will be aware something's up because they haven't seen them for a little while.
And EDG had enough control of the area recently as they were pushing out top lane to go in there, get a couple of cheeky vision. However, Fnatic can just wait them out. They can be the ones to sweep it because they know now that the game is being played on their side of the map.
Where does EDG go next? It is 5 seconds for Baron. Fnatic have challenged the vision. The control ward's denying vision inside the pit. That's a good tag onto Ray. This is a defensive Keeper's Verdict. It's put up Fnatic, but again, the setup wasn't good enough. Reckless continues to fire away with the Ricochet. 1,400 hit points, that's a defensive flash from Ray, continues to run. Wind wall comes up and nobody's fallen yet.
EDG, though, they try here with Ray's ulti. Didn't manage to actually turn any damage around, because whenever they try and turn damage with either Syndra or Kai'Sa, Windwall will just show up, or a Braum Shield. It's kind of the cool thing about Fnatic's setup here is how many projectiles and skill shots they can actually block in these fights. But they're starting to Baron. EDG, they are around. Ray is top lane, no ulti.
No ultimate available for Bwipo either, so how do they keep them out here?
All right, Steel Tempest finds no knockup. That's a decent stun, but there's no follow-up. There's no one else to jump in. Haro does not fancy putting down the baby cage just yet. EDG have thwarted the Baron attempt, and I'm looking at the state of the minimap. I think Fnatic have got a top lane push. I'm not quite sure yet. We'll take a look at that. But bot lane definitely favor of EDG. Caps gets out of range of that Void Seeker and looking for the knockup. Call of the Forge God is good. It's onto Ray. There comes Haro. He looks down the Hextech ultimatum. Reckless is locked inside. Instantly, the hourglass is thrown down both for Whippo and for Horo. Keeper's verdict is huge! EDG, that's exactly what they wanted. They found one, they found two.
This ulti from Whippo was only on to Ray. That is not the target you want. Caps didn't even get to ult in this fight. EDG, they kite back. They finally get a team fight where it's Fnatic forcing on them.
That is exactly what Poppy wants to do. Split up the fight, split up Fnatic, and they get 2 kills.
And they call off the defense. Fnatic make the decision that this is not the Baron we want to fight for. EDG secure it.
It's so cool. We get these different fights, these different setups, and we see different results every single time. EDG are kiting back. This is what they want. Kite back, and this ulti onto only the Poppy is not good enough for Fnatic. So now, Scout and iBoy, they're safe. They can deal damage, and Fnatic, they just have to try and retreat.
And the crucial thing about Zimmer is create gaps between your front line and your back line. Reckless, as soon as that Zonya's hourglass or the stopwatch came through, could no longer send ricochets through. That meant that his damage went to 0, and EDG won the team fight.
Fnatic engage onto EDG. EDG are happy, they can kite back. EDG engaging onto Fnatic. Fnatic are happy because EDG can't reach the carries properly. This time around, it was Fnatic forcing the fight, and EDG punished them big time.
And both of the teams kind of suck at sieging. So without Baron, this is going to be a really hard game to win. Everything going to be fought around objectives.
That's what I love, though, Spawn. Yes, it's not going to be about necessarily knocking over the towns. It's going to be about these team fights. It's going to be about the decision-making and the positioning in each of these fights. Ray will once again be the target. Keeper's verdict comes out. It doesn't hit anything. He was interrupted. Ray gets caught by the last breath. This is a split. Maker's already down. Ray will fall immediately after. Fnatic somehow find EDG.
Man, EDG, you won that great fight before. You got the Baron, and then they split up in 2. We get another ulti from Whippo, and this time it doesn't matter who you hit, just hit someone. And they get the block with the wind wall onto Ray's ulti.
They got in the game. The 2 tanks are dead. Fnatic can just look to push.
Oh, there's 40 seconds left for Ray, 30 seconds for Mako. The Fnatic chants are starting. iBoy is left in the back end. He's trying to shoot down with that Hurricane. That's an interrupt onto Hilly. Caps gets chunked out. Scout has got the Unleashed Power as the stopwatch is used. That keeps Caps alive.
He's dead.
Unleashed Power blows him up. Fnatic are unable to finish. Remember, Baron empowered minions on the side of EDG. Fnatic's push is stopped for now.
Now where is the counterpunch? One more time, they go over-aggressive. They see their window, and now EDG, 10 seconds left on their tank, can try and push back in.
Listen to the EDG chant starting to pick up. It's 40 seconds left for Caps. Ray has got teleports available as he respawns right now, but there's not a lot to fight for. Elder Dragon, yes, it is up. I think Caps may be able to get there.
It's all about the base. We've already mentioned how bad these teams are. Actually, they don't go for it. They peel off, they go Elder.
Well, they take the big objective instead. They know it's all about team fighting right now between the 2 teams. Getting the Elder, and more importantly, getting the first Elder, so that the second one, if the game keeps going, will be a huge win condition for them. They have the objective they need now to win a fight.
And this is how it all started. 2 members show bottom. Elder Drake is the objective, and Fnatic say, we do not play by those rules. They run them down and they start up the fight.
Yeah, this is a great setup by them, catching EDG out and blocking the Poppy ult, but then we actually don't get to see it. I think Caps, in the end, just stepped forward, played really greedy and got punished by Scout. He took a massive hit in his face, and then he win wall after.
He was trying to save the minion wave from getting stopped. He was trying to keep the backdoor bonuses off the turret with the wind wall, and he just copped so much damage to the noggin and could not fight after that.
This is only from the little fight we showed in the replay. Obviously, their next fight around the Nexus had a lot of different numbers for EDG.
And Deficio, EDG are still in the lead. They've had the gold lead. This is the base defense.
So let's see what happens here. Hillsang jumps in a bit. Caps and Reckless on the side. Massive hit landing onto Caps right there before he gets to wind wall. And then with the hourglass, well, it's easy now for Scout to take him out when he returns because there is nothing to block the single ult.
And a little bit of a skill check there. Thinks he can get the flash off before Rookie can press R. Not probably the skill check I would have looked for. Sorry, Scout presses R.
That's a compliment.
That is a compliment.
Well, Scout's doing very well this game. We've crested the 40-minute mark, the longest game of the series so far. EDG are still in the lead, but they've got to deal with super minions in the mid lane. They are trying to push that one back out.
And they have that late game insurance from iBoy specifically on the Kai'Sa. If Scout can land his abilities as well, we know there's enough damage to kill a carry.
Well, there is indeed, but there's also 28 CS left for Reckless to hit 500. He's got the Molten Edge, the Ornn upgrades Gonna help out the late game for Fnatic even more. And what we've seen this game time and time again, it has been team fights around objectives that has really swung control of the game.
Yeah, and also, Whippos engage on the Ornn. Who does he hit?
Yeah.
Does he hit 2 to 3 guys and then suddenly Caps can jump in? Or does he only hit Ray? If you only hit Ray, the value is gone. If you can actually hit 2 to 3 players on EDG, the Ornn is massive. And that engage is very, very important to set up your carries.
And just how pivotal that steadfast presence is from Poppy, blocking all of the movement abilities from Fnatic. We've seen how impactful it has been. So the map is reset. Elder Dragon has timed out. Baron has timed out. 1 minute 48 until what we hope to be the next big team fight.
And we'll see who gets rid of their Storm Razors, what items start getting picked up as this game progresses. Also would like to see, even though it's a ward slot, you know, one of the sins, Haro go back and get himself another stopwatch. One of the team fights they won was the ability for him to just continue to push Reckless backwards. With a GA, he's going to buy some time. A stopwatch could buy a bit more of that precious time for the front line to get torn apart.
Very true. There's a lot of late game fights as a jungle Camille where you don't get to deal a lot of damage because you are fairly squishy. But if you can buy time with your CC and your ulti and then the stopwatch you highlight spawn, you can still be extremely strong. Because you can't just ignore her completely, you have to actually respect her.
Okay, gentlemen, set this up for me. EDG seem to have pressure. They seem to be pushing some of the lanes down despite the supers in mid. I think they've just about timed out, 30 seconds to go. And Fnatic, they don't have vision just yet around Baron, so it feels like EDG have a little bit more information to work with.
I feel like Fnatic were just buying their time. They were cleaning up their side waves, they were ceding some control. Now they get the mid lane push. Now they can all of a sudden start trying to get some top side vision control.
But they don't see a lot. They don't know if they're about to get flanked or anything. Now to see EDG right in front of them.
And that's the importance of mid lane, is if you push up towards the inhibitor, you know they have to answer the wave. As soon as they show on the wave, they can't be flanking you. So you can now go in, get some shallow vision, do it again, push out mid wave, continue to repeat the steps until you have the control you need.
And it's so cool that I think in Fnatic's head, they had this game plan with Caps, you know, winning a side lane and being super annoying, but that got completely shut down because of EDG's early game. So it's just become 5 versus 5 only, all game long. And we're gonna get another one here. Once again, eyes on Ray in the front line. If he's the target Fnatic is trying to kill, they will struggle.
And double Hourglass. Hourglass stopwatch picked up for Scout. He's going to be so annoying to deal with. Ray has one as well.
Oh, look at this. They're posturing in the mid lane. I'm waiting for Whippo. Where is the Ornn Horn? He's holding onto it for now. There's no vision into the river just yet. EDG have backed away onto that Fnatic wall. That could be huge.
Now Fnatic will be the ones checking. Once Baron is now in the shadows. Control ward dead. Luckily, that one ward in the brush will basically give Fnatic the information they need to check if Baron is being started, unless EDG can like blast cone over the wall behind
ding,
it.
ding. 500 CS activated for Reckless's Sivir. Is it enough? It's going to be all on the initiation. There's the knockup from Caps. He's sitting on top of Ray. The Scout of the Weak has found no stun. Fnatic, they turn it on. There goes the last breath onto Ray. The Ornn Horn catches out onto Haro. But Boy, he's jumped into the back line. He stays alive for now. He's knocked up with the Glacial Fissure. So fights a multiple front. Nobody's dead yet. Finally, Reckless gets knocked down. There's the Hourglass thrown down by Ray. Boy still alive. Still, nobody killed. Finally, Reckless is unstoppable. His 501st CS is killing EDG. Now they're running for their lives. Scout of the Weak will be enough to stop Fnatic.
Everyone is just holding ultis left and right. Scout in the end did ulti and almost kill Whippo, but he got to flash away in time. Meanwhile, when the fight breaks out, it's all onto Ray. He gets out, but when he returns back in, they actually take him down.
And look at the mini-map. Top lane in favor of EDG. Bottom lane in favor of Fnatic. You can feel the electricity in the air as the fans in Busan are just waiting in anticipation. After everything in that fight, only one kill secured by Fnatic.
And every summoner spell used by EDG. Look down the lineup of Fnatic. Reckless still has double summoners. Broxah has his available. Hillsong didn't have to flash. Still have the potential to fight here, and EDG can make no more mistakes.
There are no wards behind the Baron from Fnatic. EDG with Haro can always threaten a steal.
Will Fnatic stick on this pit? Take a look. This is 4 members of EDG sitting behind the pit. Ray has just respawned. He's got teleport available.
I think Scout does more damage than Smite. They can go for it.
Oh, it's a duel! EDG pick up the Baron, but it's It's at the cost of Haro's life. Now in a numbers advantage. What can Fnatic do? They're jumping onto Ray. He's running away. He's got no flash. He's thrown down the stone plate, but I don't think there's enough. Fnatic will get 2 kills.
And in the late game, when you go for a steal, if you die, you're dead now for 50 seconds. Fnatic have time to start pushing and try and get everything.
And this time around, there is no flashes. There is no ability to outplay. Still 40 seconds left on Haro.
109 games played at the 2018 World Championship, and only 10 of them have been won with a gold deficit. Fnatic are behind 4,000 gold at 50 minutes, and they are pushing onto the Nexus turrets. The last time they tried this, they failed! The last time they tried this, Scout saved the day. Can he do it again? The Nexus turret is falling. Hellesang has found iBoy. iBoy's running back with the killer instinct. That's a devour from Mako. The Nexus turret still stands, and iBoy is just about to get blown up. He's got a GA to come back alive. GA is popped. Fnatic in a 5-on-2. Scout still untouched. Finally goes golden. Nexus is down. Fnatic lead the series 2-1.
And what a gutsy display from Fnatic, winning from behind.
The 11th game when winning with a deficit.
And man, those last 2 fights, iBoy tried his hardest. He got onto Fnatic, but he couldn't kill anyone, and they managed to force him away. And suddenly they could kill the Poppy. They took their time, but it got her down. And when they start the Baron, they knew right now EDG are split. If Haro gets in here to try and steal it, we can kill him. GA was popped in the last fight, so they didn't care about losing Baron. They just wanted the kill.
And it's just decision-making. It's just all decision-making, because when you go for a steal, you cannot go for the fight. Syndra, most of your damage is outside of the pit with no flash, can do nothing. EDG's decision-making costs them that late game.
As you can tell, the intensity of that game has carried through to the caster desk. When you take a breather and leave it to the State Farm analyst to break down how the hell Fnatic won that game.
Thank you very much. Quick shot. Fnatic clawing that one back from a pretty major deficit in total control for EDG.
I don't like these games.
You should be happy.
They find the right fights in the end game, but really that game was back and forth. You know, once we hit that mid game, for both squads had opportunities to win. We heard Spawn talking about it. It comes down to that individual decision-making in the moment plays from either side, and basically just who makes less mistakes.
And we got to kind of start with the draft, because something that we talked about at the end of last game was what we wanted to see from EDG was a strong mid-jungle duo. We wanted to see them either put pressure down to Caps, try and deny it from Broxah and Caps in some way, and I feel like that this game they were able to get it with the Camille and the Syndra.
And I do think that these team compositions kind of counter each other, which is what made it such a long game, because the Yasuo wants to get into a side lane. However, he's against a Camille, Tom Kench, and was afraid of going to the side lanes. Yet, that means you have a Yasuo who's not allowed to side lane, who's pulled into a 5v5, but doesn't really want to team fight that much. Then you have a team that can stop side laners, but actually doesn't have very good engage.
Right.
So that's why we saw them seemingly A-ramming in the mid lane. I think they could have pushed it, right? You could have seen Caps going for more side lane plays, but they wanted to play risk averse and try and sneak out the team fights with Braum Shield and Wind Walls, and it technically worked.
And for me, the pick that really put Fnatic over the edge was actually the Sivir pick here. Yep. And Vetis, you know, I asked her, I was like, do you think they're ever going to be punished by not taking the Xayah? The fact that Reckless just has like these core champions, Tristana, Sivir, and Ezreal that he goes to, and you said no, and we saw it there. Hits 500 win conditions, he's able to just bounce. And this is the most important thing, though, the bounce. The fact that when they play a front-to-back team fight, Reckless is never put into any danger, because when Edward Gaming want to come at them, they're all bundled up together, and just a single W hits iBoy in the backside and blows him up.
Yeah, Fnatic, though, was working from quite a deficit in the beginning of those team fights because of all the attention spent towards the mid lane from EDG.
And this kind of ties in with what we were talking about earlier, the strong mid duo. They tried to take advantage of Well out with the Tom Kench, investing his ulti to come into the mid lane. And by shutting Caps down in the early, it made it that much harder for him to even threaten the side lane and become this carry that was unstoppable. And they shut him down. And as Jat said, once he was behind, it became pretty much impossible for him to really move anywhere.
Yeah, there was was a portion in that game where Ornn had more CS than the Yasuo did, simply because where Fnatic were allocating their side lane farm wasn't towards the Yasuo. Because as Jet said, Caps was just too scared. There were so many times he was standing in a bush and he was like, I can't go up there, they're going to gank me. And that also slowed down Fnatic's win because they're just waiting for Yasuo to actually get items before they try to team fight.
It wasn't until 27 minutes into the game around the Infernal Drake that Fnatic really found a good fight for themselves. Maybe a couple misplays from EDG as well.
And Fnatic was down 5,000 gold when this happened, so EDG probably shouldn't have had the window for Fnatic to even take this Drake. But then when they actually do get the fight, as Frost said, watch Reckless. Like, he's basically untouched this entire fight while still being able to get a lot of damage, and a number of misplays by EDG in this fight. Scout zone using in the back, iBoy ulting in on Kai'Sa while he had Braum stacks on him to immediately get stunned, and Fnatic just front to back outperform EDG in this fight to wrestle control of the game back for themselves.
I mean, Haro never made it in.
Yeah, he literally was just spectator mode. He's like, huh, it's interesting what's happening over there. Maybe I should assist.
You were yelling because the moment he goes down to the 1v1, he still has his ult. Yeah. And Frost is just like, wait, why does my jungler still have ultimate available? It was definitely a questionable fight from the side of EDG.
That's one way to put it.
And it's one of those situations where when you look at EDG, it's something we've actually said all tournament long. They have an amazing early game. They're actually stacked full of talented players, but sometimes they just make the oddest decisions, and you just can't understand what goes through this team's mind.
And you can actually see that in the Baron play, like that last fight. The fact that Ray goes for the engagement, and remember, Ray is rejoining the roster. He started on Edward Gaming, then he went to North America, now he's back on EDG, but he just looks like he's not quite cohesive with them. The teleport comes in, he walks from the back, and yeah, he's put into a position where maybe they don't go for the team fight, but he runs in, the rest of Edward Gaming run away, and Ray's like, well, I guess I'm here now.
Yeah, I very much think the identifiers used for these teams at the start of the day, EDG being a double-edged sword and Fnatic being boxers, is pretty apt in this game because in a way, EDG had Fnatic backed into a corner, but Fnatic was still fighting the entire time, finding their way out from that corner in the only way possible. I mean, 38,000 damage.
What is that gold grab?
plus CS.
A roller coaster.
And
What
gold
is
grab,
that?
Absolute roller coaster of a game. A great game 3, a turning point in the series most likely, and a huge performance from Fnatic.
All right, losing with a big gold lead, that's going to sting for EDG. You had said you believe, this was off camera, you had said you believe that if Fnatic had won this game, they would keep Bwipo in. You are exactly correct. They're going to try and ride that momentum to the 3-1 finish. On the flip side, EDG has elected to go to blue side with their side selection. Before we get into discussions around the next game, I do want to recognize our MasterCard player of the game. Ding, 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 you guessed it, quick shot. It's Reckless for the 500 CS Silver Win condition.
And it's the late game insurance policy. All of those bounces, the positioning, the team fights, Reckless did exactly what he needed to do. It wasn't flashy, but it got the job done.
Yeah, and this is something that Reckless will always tell you regardless. He says, I can pick a late game carry because if my team is winning elsewhere on the map, I can just sit behind and follow them, but I'm always that late game insurance. And if things fall apart, I trust myself in team fights to be able to win, and that is just Reckless in a nutshell.
All right, so now we move into game point for Fnatic. Finally swapping sides for the first time in this series. How does this affect the way the champion select plays out and maybe the tools that each of these teams draft themselves?
So I very quickly want to jump in with the fact that Caps will get counterpick. At least that's what I hope, because honestly, I don't think he's had the best series so far. He had one good Aurelia game, but giving him the counterpick, I think, is really important for Fnatic this series.
And I think this means EDG gets power pick. They've mainly been banning Aurelia, Akali, and Aatrox in their games, which are the flex picks that you can power between both lanes. I think Akali will be a high priority, and we're going to see which ones Fnatic ends up letting through. You also have the Urgot Aatrox that I think is more likely to be in this matchup than the last.
Do you have any thoughts on what EDG does from blue side to bring us to a 5th game?
I hope it's not priority pick Kai'Sa.
All right. No Kai'Sa. That's all we need for a 5th game. Fnatic are 1 win away from facing Cloud9 in the semifinal. We'll see if they can lock their spot in the top 4 after the break.